Step aside, please. We have white privilege.
I'm the great Cornholio, and I need TP for my bunghole. Have you got TP for my bunghole?
Hey, Beavis. Have you seen this chick, Liz Hurley? You wanna check out her boobies?
Rewind.
Now, before I go and watch The Black Phone today at my local Cineworld with a very scary looking Ethan Hawke, I sat down at 7 o'clock this morning and I managed to watch Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. The newest offering from Mike Judge, who created those characters back in the early 90s for MTV. MTV, again, are behind this, but it's streaming on Paramount Plus. Now, the biggest concern I had about this film is whether it's going to sustain its runtime of 1 hour and 26 minutes. Are the sight gags going to feel tiresome? Are the innuendos going to feel worn out by this stage? No, it's not. Do you know why? Because you can't laugh at comedy today, folks. If you're bringing out a comedy today and it has all those tropes that we enjoyed in the early noughts and the 90s, the greatest decade ever. I'm going to leave a link in my video here if you want to watch my love letter to the 90s, because boy, I had a great time doing that. And yes, I am doing one on the 80s as well. Still working on it. Got to get a few props and then we'll be off to the races.
It says Johnson.
But holy hell, man, I gotta say, I have not stopped laughing since I watched this film today. The funny thing is that when it kicks off, it's 1998. So again, Mike Judge, like me, he loves the 90s. Sees our two boys, Beavis and Butthead, at a science fair. Beavis getting his nards kicked in, like literally. And then that somehow ends up getting them into a court. And a judge who's almost going to sentence them in a pound me in the ass prison until a moment of recompense dawns upon him, and he sends our two favorite couch potato heroes to NASA Space Camp. That's right, they're going to be in NASA Space Camp for I think 8 weeks, and while they are there, they fall in love with Commander Serena Ryan, who's played by Andrea Savage. She was in Step Brothers, and she's a great character. She's the anally retentive female, over-present character that we see in a lot of our entertainment today with no agency. Although funny enough, they do give us some agency in this film, but it's just done in a very haphazard way, which I don't mind at all.
And I'm Jim Hartson, the lieutenant commander, which is also an important...
This week you'll have a front row seat while we prepare...
And what's really funny about her character, later on, that we know that she's been a perpetrator of Me Too for the last 24 years. Because and of course, when you do watch it, that's how you perceive it. But obviously in the film, it comes across in a very different narrative, because our two misguided heroes, everything they hear is to do with sex. And, that's where it all kind of, might get lost in translation a little bit. But to me, I'm watching it, I'm thinking, wow, when you hear about Me Too, it's usually how women are the victims. But in this case, it's a man who's the victim. And I thought that was really, but the way it's done is so comedic. It's like it can almost fly over your head if you don't pay attention. The fact that they're calling out the Russians, the Chinese, Antifa is another thing that they do. I could not stop laughing. This film takes a lot of pot shots, even at gender studies. The attitudes about gender studies today, by the way, folks, there are still two biological species on this planet, man and woman, and that's it. We'll leave it right there. But there is a moment where our two eponymous heroes walk into a university and they interrupt a gender studies class, and it is absolutely hilarious. If you even see who they have representing the class, I could not stop laughing my ass off.
There's a slut at her house who's gonna do it with us. Any of you ladies want to, join the party.
And they had the female lecturer standing there. Now, she could have been insufferable, but she actually embraces Beavis and Butthead to join in the discussion about gender studies and the fact that our two lads are from the 90s. So they come from a decade where our attitudes about sexiness, the female form, the male form, the whole attitude about dating, which for me is the best time ever. I mean, I miss those times. I'm glad I've still retained that way of thinking compared to what we have now, because I cannot stand what's going on in today's society where that's concerned. You know, I don't even give a cursory glance to a lady anymore, just in case she calls the police and me too's me because, oh my God, officer, that man looked at me because I was so attractive. But going back to this film, you get the phallic jokes, you get all the innuendos you expect to hear. This is a perfect example of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Beavis and Butthead, Duel the Universe, clearly embraces that notion, and I love it. What can I say? If you're going to watch this film, and I'm going to watch this again, it's a great comedy. It absolutely is. Oh, I've got to talk about the white male privilege line. That, for me, was the funniest moment in this whole film. It could have been cringe, but what Mike Judge and his boys decided to do was to take this overused ideology about what it is to be white, what it is to be male in America, and just run along with it. They really take the piss out of this whole notion that the mainstream media likes to go after. And of course, our two boys, Beavis and Butthead, they embrace the white male privilege. It's obviously meant to be an ironic stab at what's going on in the media. And again, the white male privilege line, we heard it in the Batman film this year, uttered so cringingly by Zoe Kravitz. And I'm betting as well that she was very encouraging on having that line of dialogue written into a Batman film, a superhero movie, a fictional story not set in the real world. And of course, this is the thing that the media likes to use now. If it's the only path you've got to take, and if you happen to be white and male, and you have the privilege, this is the path you take. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I tell you what, there's a fantastic soundtrack in this film. Not many songs are used, but Mike Judge knocks it out of the ballpark. We get Black Sabbath. We get a 60s reggae tune, which I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go and hunt for it because it was really, really awesome. They play it with a white privilege scene, so I really did appreciate that. And then, of course, we get the return of Michael Bolton, Bob Slidell, as played by John C. McGinley in Office Space. Yep, they make a callback to that. I was laughing my ass off so much. It's like, because Bob Slidell, if you haven't seen Office Space, and What's the Matter with You, celebrates the entire back passage catalogue of one Michael Bolton. I too have actually met Michael Bolton. He's a very strange fellow, I got to say that much, and didn't appreciate my sense of humour when I met him, but there you go. If I can wind Michael Bolton up, then there's still hope for me yet in this universe. And speaking of the universe, they do take a little pot shot at the OG Star Wars, but I guess if you're looking at the current day Star Wars, why would you go there and try to take the Mickey out of that one? Because you wouldn't. So I thought the beginning of this film with 1977 Star Wars, Beavis and Butthead in the Millennium Falcon was hilarious. And I also like the fact they even take a bit of a pot shot at the MCU or the alternate universe you get in superhero films today. So the fact that it begins in 1998 and then it somehow ends up in 2022 was just a great way to retain the characters of Beavis and Butthead. They haven't changed. They still have these sexist attitudes, but they are respectful of women actually for most of the time. Yes, they'll call them sluts and everything else, but when you consider now, if you say that word, people get highly offended by it. But we didn't have a problem with it back in the 90s, did we? Or even in the early noughts. And again, I'm not saying it's good to go around calling women certain degenerative names. Absolutely not. What I like to call women like that now are insufferable or anally retentive. I like to say that because if you're going to get offended by that, I guess you got to get some TP for your bunghole. So Beavis and Butthead, do the universe. Do I recommend it? Hey, if you're into phallic-shaped objects going in and out of black holes, then you'll like this film. And also, I'll recommend a gokwan recipe of roasted chicken with a nice syrupy, sticky syrup on it, and lots of sesame seeds and some banana cakes while you're watching this film, because honestly, if you've seen the side effects of nachos and cheese, the overconsumption of which can do some serious damage to your rectum, I recommend staying away from those. So folks, if you enjoyed this overview today for Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe on Paramount Plus right now, make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you stab that subscribe button. And if I were you, I want to get some more TP for my bunghole, and if you run out of that, maybe you can use your own t-shirt to wipe your butty hole. I will see you, if you're me, on my next video. Cornholio.
Who is this guy? Antifa? MS-13?
Kung Fu Hot Dog, you rock.
This is Duke Nukem. If you're looking for a douchebag to save the day, then try Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog. Alright, now where are the babes?